All right, guys and gals. Today I'm going to answer one of the questions I got. It was, should you load or should you not load? As usual, it's subjective to the opponent and to your strengths and weaknesses. If you're slow, I probably wouldn't no load a lot, but you're not always going to be the slowest guy. You're not always going to be the fastest guy. So, pays to know what to do and when to do it. So for me, I like to no load just because I don't like to waste energy fighting in the setup and having a whole match before go. I like to conserve energy, and I don't like to give away what I'm doing, because to me a guy that walks up and just starts grabbing you real hard and trying to load, you're giving away a lot of what you're doing, in my opinion. Some people, aren't quite on that level to know that's what what you're doing and how to take that. For me, I love a guy to walk up and grab the crap out of my hand. I start working it immediately. I'll immediately give him no pressure at first, and if he keeps on doing this, I'll just start leaning back and let him wrist curl a couple times, start working that hand. And then again, it really depends on the opponent, but that's my initial thought as soon as somebody grabs me. We'll get a little more advanced than that. Most of the time when you're pro, mid-level pro and up, guys don't really do that, or they shouldn't be. If you watch a lot of Europeans, they don't load. Heavyweights do because they're slow, and I would argue sometimes not as technical. But if you look at your lighter weight guys, 220 or so and down, a lot of times at the highest level they don't load. And if they do, it's right before they go. But like I said, for me, most of the time I don't load. I like to be loose. I like to be able to snap, and like I said, I don't like to give away what I'm doing. But I'll give you an example of when I do like to load. If I know the guy's faster, I like to make it feel uncomfortable, because you're not quite as fast when you're uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And when a guy's uncomfortable, he'll start complaining. But one of the ways I like to do it, especially in the strap, is let's say I'm going to post in the strap against a guy who's faster. I like to set my hand about midways instead of straight up. While they're putting on the strap, I'll be straight up. And when we go to grip, I'll set my hand down a little bit, squeeze, and then rise up. What that'll do is create pressure in the strap without moving his arm, right? Because I'm not leaning back to pick his elbow up. All I did was close my hand and rise with my wrist, and it'll create pressure in that strap to make him feel uncomfortable, and you got to load, so you're not just loose as a goose. You're not worried about the speed as much, because you got some pressure to start with, and it'll slow that guy down, make him feel uncomfortable. That's most of the time when I like to load. If a guy's super, I'm worried about his speed. So another time I like to load is if I know the guy is very cup dominant, he likes to do this, I'll load into his hand if he lets me. Because I just feel like if you're gonna let me load into your hand and you could wrist curl me out of the gate, you was probably gonna beat me anyway. But again, like I said, I like to load into his hand if he's trying to cut out of the gate, because I'm working that hand already, the whole setup. I'm working that hand, because it don't take very long for your hand and your cup to get worn out. So, and I don't need it all the way worn out. I need it just enough to crack it, I think another instance is, if a guy It's really good inside his shoulder, you know, and your only tactic to beating him is getting him outside his shoulder. Set up slightly off center, push this way, just enough from here to here. Because if you start doing all this, then it's real noticeable. So just enough off center. Because one of the harder things for the ref to see is center this way. They can see center this way pretty easily. Center this way, it's a little harder to see. So, and what that'll do is that'll make that guy set up at least fair in the center, if not slightly off. So it's likely he'll start trying to push. You know what I mean? So you can load back with him. And oftentimes, if I'm load side with a guy, I rarely hit side. It just depends, really. If the guy's a good hooker, I'll load side and fall out. You know, what that does, it puts him in a spring to do this. But as soon as I go back, it's, you know, because he had nothing ready to go to hold his arm tight. So I got him out, you know, got his biceps stretched. And it's a little bit of misdirection too, is really what I was doing. But I'll also, you know, hit him outside his shoulder, because remember I got him offset just a little bit. And that's a little bit less that I have to go to get him outside his shoulder. So there's, you know, there's scenarios where I will load over a no load. I think a no load is the only real danger to a no load is if you're real slow, because you can get pinned really quick. You know, this is the fastest sport on the planet, so it takes about 0.2 seconds to get beat. You know, so it's subjective. Like I said, I like to no load more than I like to load. I like a guy to come up here and give me all his whole game plan before I go. And like I said, if you watch at the highest levels, a lot of times they're not loading at all, you know, for that reason. So I'm not giving away what I'm doing, because a lot of times my setup will look the same, and I don't hit the same. I don't get the same pressure on go. So it's, you know, you got to really know who you're pulling, how they're pulling. You know, like I said, if you're pulling a guy that's real fast, you want to make him uncomfortable. You want to put some pressure on him in some way, you know. And oftentimes, if he don't like to put pressure, he'll do this. You'll see me doing that a lot. Or I just literally don't close my hand. I'm watching what you're doing. When you start to do this, I just pick my hand up. When you start to push sideways, I just, you know, it's so it's to me, there's more positives to a no load than loading. But you know, a lot of old school arm wrestlers when I was coming up, nobody no loaded. You know what I mean? Everybody loaded in some way, some form or fashion. I will say, I think the worst kind of load you can do is to do this and try to wrist cup a guy and go down or side. Because to me, that's just putting a whole lot of pressure into your weakest part of your arm, which is always going to be your fingers. And you can win that way, but odds are if you won that way, you'd have beat this guy if you just sat still most of the time. So, like I said, all of it's subjective. It's not, you know, this is one rule, rules all. But you really got to know your opponent, like I said. So, you know, trying to think of some more scenarios, so I don't feel like I gave enough, but hopefully you get the principle behind what I'm saying. If your endurance is bad, if you're slow, if you're not great at reading the setup, don't load. You know, I think I said that backwards. Yeah, if you're slow, you're not great at reading the setup, you probably need to load. I said it backwards, I'm sorry. If you got good speed, but your endurance sucks, don't load. You know, to me, my goal is always to win as fast as possible, to use the least amount of energy as possible. So for me, that, like I said, no load is the way to go. I'm trying to get out of here, and I don't even want to be sore. I want to take the money home, you know, and wake up next day and be able to arm wrestle. So some people don't like that. They like the war, you know, load. You know, if you like that, if you are slow, that's what I always recommend. Try to load in some form or fashion. Just be smart with your load, with the timing of your load too. Don't load right out the gate. You know, grabbing this guy, loading up. Wait till they start. You know, turn. You know, because if you loading and trying to force me to load, I'm just gonna take you to a ref grip. It's the easiest thing to do. I prefer to go there anyway. That's one reason I liked WAL's rules. I didn't like particularly them pulling your hand down and all that, but I like straight to a ref grip, straight to a strap. You know, let's cut out all the BS, and it does cut out a little bit of artistry of the game, like I said, because now the guy's not giving away his plan, you know, for 30 to 60 seconds, gripping up and all that. But for me, my style, straight to ref grip. Let's do it. But like I said, slower guys or guys who need pressure to feel comfortable, they don't like it. So you got to find other ways. I can go into more detail about that in another video, but I'm gonna drop one soon telling you about some news I got. Anyway, hopefully that helped. Drop some more comments, like, subscribe, share these videos, brother. If they helping you, share them. Let's get it out there. Appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, roll tide.